Welcome back to day 5 here as we are again towards the end of the MSI 2021 group stage, but not there yet, Lyric, and we have even more fun here. PSG Talon going to be playing up against Pain Gaming as these two teams will take to the stage for the first time today, but certainly not for the last, as again we'll finish off this group. Already with some unexpected results in our first game as Mad Lions suffer their first loss of the tournament, and even though PSG Talon are the other favorite to get out of this group, Pain Gaming have had enough cliffhangers that I'm willing to say that anything is possible here.
Hey, you know, I don't want to bring up something irrelevant, but Season 5, Pain did beat Flash Wolves, brTT was on Pain, Maple was on Flash Wolves. History can't always repeat itself, Pastry.
Certainly can, as this is looking like a group that went from, you know, maybe clear-cut after the first half for them to potentially very muddy and messy towards the standings as these teams are battling back and forth. For PSG Talon, going to be about, again, winning out as many games as you can. Already in a decent spot with only one loss to Mad Lions, who have picked up their first loss, as I just mentioned. So they've got 2 games to play here. We'll be on for both of them. Perhaps we'll see PSG Talon be the first from this group to clinch their way into the Rumble stage. For Pain Gaming, though, they're going to do everything they can to avoid that. They already have a win. They really should have more than one, though, potentially. Although we did hear the argument from Farfetch in the interview that they probably should have been the ones to win that game up against Pain. So it has been some back and forth affairs between all the teams in this group. And I think it's fair to say that PSG Talon have, when they've won, looked the most dominant.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, it's just going to be, you know, a byproduct of their split where they only lost 1 game in the regular split. They went 9-0 in their playoffs. That's why, you know, when I reflect back on their Mad Lions loss, it's like, hey, I'm not sure how much experience PSG Talon have playing when they don't have an early game lead, right? Because they just completely blitzed through their domestic region that they're pretty much probably only used to playing, snowballing through their early game advantages, playing with Maple, playing with River, and winning that way. So, you know, when we look at this matchup specifically, we know that Pain was a team in CBLOL that it was all about kind of win lane, win game. Get those early game advantages. You know, brTT and Luci would be fine. They were pretty much consistently winning the 2v2. CarioK and tinowns were the big playmakers in my mind. They were all over the map creating the action. And for me, that's where I'd love to see Pain Gaming look to try to, you know, shut down what we're predicting to be, you know, what should be, I'd say, a PSG win on paper.
Yeah, but anything can happen, especially if Pain can find a little bit more of that early game groove, which they haven't been as successful as here at MSI. And I think mid-jungle is the spot that we certainly should be looking at here because River and Maple have been pretty good when PSG Talon get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and they're a really interesting one in my mind because we look at River especially as one of the lowest like jungle proximity to his laners out of any jungler in the whole tournament. He's very focused on like going into the enemy jungle, finding those invades, finding those duels, and then he typically just picks up the objective on his own because all his lanes are winning anyway. But when he does settle into a lane, it is typically in that mid lane with Maple.
All right, we'll see what happens here in the draft. PSG over on the blue side. It is Pain Gaming on the right, and the first ban is Draven. Showing a lot of respect to the legend brTT.
I am a bit disappointed. I was hoping, okay, you know, their backs are against the wall. This is when the Draven comes out. But Hanabi said in an interview, he feels like one of their problems so far at MSI is that, you know, their inexperience with Doggo. He's playing a bit too over-aggressive. So I guess wanting to take out any wild cards in that bot lane.
Yeah, certainly is, I think, a lane that Pain could look to play through here if they do want to look to dominate 2v2s like they have done domestically. Doggo and Kaiwing, of course, they can't have that much synergy, haven't played together all that much. And even though we could expect more out of both Doggo and Kaiwing, they're still trying to find their feet. And for PSG Talon, it feels like their top side has been doing so much heavy lifting that it hasn't really mattered. They're just kind of falling in line and doing their jobs, which has been good enough in the wins that PSG have picked up. Rumble, though, going to get banned. Udyr, Morgana, all these champions probably going to be in this area for phase 1 of bans, but it is Camille and Alistar, the last 2 bans there for PSG. So a mixed bag of target bans there on their side.
Yeah, I really like it as well, right? Because they have been a team that has been playing the meta champions. They're probably completely fine if anything gets left open and willing to take trades, to where Pain is the team I'm more concerned of when it comes to meta picks, right? We've seen CarioK has played a game of Hecarim, and Hecarim right now to me is just a dead champion. He isn't really anything we should be seeing played. But with this Morgana ban, I would expect the Udyr to come out for River. He was pretty much the prime Udyr player in the PCS, to where I was talking to Clement and he said, hey, no PCS junglers could play Udyr until River showed him how.
And there is the Udyr. Also a great takeaway from CarioK, so I do like the pickup here. I think you said it yesterday, he's one of the 3 picks that gets picked up most often in drafts, so it makes sense that PSG will take it here. But Kai'Sa is almost always the trade that happens here. It's been the other big power picks. That is going to be the lock-in for brTT, and already Lillia going to be selected here.
And this is a CarioK special. We haven't really been seeing it here at MSI. Just a lot of other champions have gotten buffs to where they are just stronger than Lillia. She still provides a lot with her ultimate, especially can set up for some massive team fights later on. Now I'm really looking at PSG, especially where they want to go with their AD carry pick. Kaiwing, a famous Thresh player. We've seen Doggo pick up the Aphelios so far in this tournament other than the Kai'Sa, but you can also always go with something like a Xayah, which is the typical response, but no, they're keeping their options open.
Yeah, Thresh to me, it feels like always signals like Jinx or Aphelios, right? Like a little bit more immobile of an AD, but huge standing damage output if you're left to your own devices, and Thresh provides not just some help in lane to, set things up, but also the ability to lantern you out to safety because you don't have any move blocks of your own. So could have seen the Kai'Sa there. It was potentially a consideration, but it is going to be Aphelios instead, which is again kind of surprising, an AD that we haven't seen as often, at least since the last time Aphelios was everywhere, shooting people with the Infernum and killing whole teams. But still good, certainly, and Doggo will feel comfortable there in that matchup as Nautilus, unsurprisingly, looks to be the selection here, and indeed it will be locked in for Pain Gaming.
And it's the expected response to a Thresh. You are tankier than him, the way your hook interacts with his as well. But so far, I think we have, I kind of want to say standard, but also a bit different drafts than we expect, right? There's like a bit of a spanner in the works for both sides with, you're already highlighting the Aphelios, though Doggo has played it already, and it's very good into compositions that want to run at you, and that's obviously what Kai'Sa thrives at doing. Lillia doesn't really signal the same thing, but still now locking in the Nautilus as well. I think Doggo's going to be set up fine. And for the side of Pain Gaming, again, very standard draft so far, very strong in team fights, and I love that they're starting to ban out some of these strong AP mid laners that go very well with Udyr.
Lucian being banned away, so showing respect to some of the solo lane threats as well on the PSG side. But Silas, I think a champion that if the enemy mid laner is competent on, especially given how many powerful ultis there are running around the meta, Silas is just not a champion you should give away lightly. So I do love that ban there from Pain. And Rise also going to join in there. So just taking a couple Maple champs off the board here as PSG will line up the 10th ban of this draft.
And that's one thing the analyst desk was talking about earlier, right? Is that typically when you do have a Udyr in the jungle, we've been seeing a lot more of just pairing it up with some kind of scaling AP mage in the mid lane to give you that insurance policy. But the fact that you already have the Aphelios as your insurance policy, I think opens up more room for Maple to pick interesting champions. And Maple's played a different champion every game so far that he's played. Has a game on Set, a game on Lucian, and a game on Silas. So I think we can maybe be expecting a lot of interesting picks coming out from him.
That's hilarious to me because that is hugely different from Maple in the PCS, right? Where a certain scaling mid lane mage was played very often.
Yep, almost playing Azir in every game. And when we look at Pain Gaming, they do lock in the Gnar. I think it's actually been one of Robo's standout champions. Robo looks like a completely different player in my mind when he's on either the Gnar or the Camille. So going to go back to something that is comfortable. Right now, we see that PSG are hovering the Gangplank. I would like to see this. He does pretty fine into the Gnar in the early laning phase. Also scales up to be a monster. So it's also Hanabi special if you followed Hanabi's career from when he was in Flash Wolves. But is going to go with a more aggressive route.
Or is he?
I think PSG are just saying, hey, again, we want to get some experience playing out more early game-centric composition in a sense that, hey, you have Jayce and Udyr as your early pressure. You have Aphelios as your late-game insurance policy. And Pastry, I don't believe that this one's going to happen.
All right, I'll believe it when I see it. There we go. That's a more sensible one. Or at least one that we maybe expect more. It's going to be Zoe for Maple in the mid lane. I was alluding to the fact that it could have been Maple's Jayce, but seems a little unlikely. And it is, of course, now going to be all but confirmed that that is Hanabi's champion in the top lane. I feel like if there was only a top lane meta where it was just Gnar and Jayce, we'd be happy as LeBlanc makes her first appearance on the MSI stage.
I am so happy we get this because we've been seeing so many players at MSI picking this up in solo queue but not getting it on stage. I think there are a lot of like rough matchups for LeBlanc. You obviously can't blind pick her, but Zoe is definitely one of the ones where you can go toe to toe, and then it's kind of a war of, hey, am I going to land my chain or you're going to hit your sleepy trouble bubble of who will come out ahead? But I like that we have a very distinct draft, especially on the side of PSG, right? A lot of poke, a lot of siege. It does amazing when the enemy team comp is running into you because you can kite back so well. You have a bit of zoning with the box coming out from Kaiwing as well. And then for the side of Pain Gaming, you have some side lane pressure in there with your Gnar and LeBlanc. You have pick tools as well, being able to play from far away with the seedling coming out from CarioK, or playing over a wall with a distortion into the chain coming out from tinowns.
Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite things about Zoe and her general position in different metagames. If it's a control mage meta, Zoe is like such a good blind pick typically, right? Because she excels in most of those matchups. Some are harder than others, but for the most part, all Zoe wants to do is throw paddle stars at the wave and then leave whenever she gets an opportunity to, right? And against a control mage is just mostly trying to push you in. Zoe's really good at efficiently clearing using her paddle star. But the problem with Zoe is that if there are gap closing, more assassin-y, more burst style champions in the meta, then suddenly blind picking Zoe isn't nearly as safe. So I feel like teams have gotten a bit comfy just picking Zoe and expecting like Orianna, maybe Syndra, maybe Victor, right? But nothing too challenging. This is something a lot more proactive from Pain, at least trying to attack the mid lane here, which is a tall order against a player of Maple's caliber, but I love that they're using that fifth pick, using that counter pick, and playing a champion that, again, we like, Qiyana and Zed from yesterday, we were maybe surprised not to see earlier, but we're very happy we're getting it now.
And the thing that I love about it as well is whenever you face a LeBlanc, it opens up a lot of matchups to try and go toe-to-toe in terms of runes. So we do see Maple taking that Electrocute, wanting to go toe-to-toe in those short trades so he can come out ahead. Both mid laners taking Ignite as well. We already highlighted this is a bit of a skill matchup. Again, kill pressure comes down to who can ever land their hard CC. Maple should be able to guarantee push early on with those paddle stars like you hit on. They do have mixed damage in their mid jungle role as well, and River brings a point and click stun, so I feel like that is a bit more reliable for the side of PSG.
Yeah, typically, actually we saw this demonstrated by Farfetch actually on the Leona versus Humanoid Zoe. Anytime like Zoe can get gap closed upon and it isn't safe to throw poke at you, that's typically how you get an advantage against her. And that naturally is how LeBlanc's entire harassment works.
Yeah, and speaking of kind of Zoe and the comp more holistically as I look at it, I actually really like what PSG have specifically into Pain Gaming's comp, because again, we talked about, Aphelios especially. Evan remembers last year when he was meta. He loves when champions are getting in close range and he can dish out all the damage with his chakrams and his severums, healing up. Highest DPS in the game, I'm sure, at certain points. So you look at Pain Gaming's comp, it's like, okay, Nautilus, Gnar, they want to get into the thick of things. Kai'Sa wants to jump in. Sure, tinowns is going to be looking for a flank, but I feel like unless you really 100 to 0 someone, it's going to be very hard to not get taken down in any extended fight. So to me, Pain Gaming, it's a lot more about burst, where PSG kind of have both. They have burst coming out from Jayce and Zoe, and then they have a lot of DPS as well in extended fights with the Aphelios.
Hey, Kai'Sa sometimes feels like a burst champion on the Pain side.
True.
We'll see how things line up. Both junglers starting on their blue sides of the map, so we'll be pathing to opposite directions. Early 2v2 looking okay for both sides. I think PSG are trying to get that level 2 ASAP. Nice ward though for Pain. He's going to spot River, zoom in towards the Raptors. But again, for both these junglers, probably not going to expect anything other than a full clear.
No, definitely not. And right, it's just the name of the game. It's pretty much every jungler right now in the meta. And then for me, again, the thing I want to see out from PSG, I'd love to see River at least hover around mid. Ganking LeBlanc is quite hard because not only the flash right, you have the distortion, but even if you are just giving Maple some vision, allowing him to play safe, not have to worry about those all-ins as Luci gets flayed.
A real nice play there for Kaiwing. Just barely getting the Nautilus there in the hitbox as Doggo continues to press aggressively, but level 2 has been hit for Pain, so with the cleanse especially, I don't think there's going to be too many fireworks. Oh, have to be flashed though. Luci with a lot of respect given the Kaiwing, but that is already an early summoner lead for PSG.
And this is what we were talking about earlier in terms of Pain Gaming in the early game, right? When you come from CBLaw and that is your go-to, is like, hey, we win lane. It's all about brTT and Luci are fine, they're self-sufficient. Pain Gaming will typically create a lot of action around the top side and get those lanes ahead as well. When your star laners are just getting outlaned in 1v1s and 2v2s, and that is your way to snowball into a late game win, it's like, what's Pain Gaming's backup plan?
I guess we'll have to see as CarioK busy taking the Scuttle Crab on the top side of the map. This trade's happening mid. Chain is land, but the exhaust is down from Maple. That was the one he picked up off the ground. Feels pretty good, man. There is a real exhaust in this game. It is actually in the hands of Kaiwing. It's going to be pretty good against the Kai'Sa diving in, but exceptionally good against this LeBlanc. tinowns going to feel very frustrated anytime he dives in and gets exhausted as another great hook lands into a play. And actually the damage going through, but the gravitum not quite enough as Kaiwing a little too low as brTT traded back very nicely.
And it's one of those things too where, you know, Nautilus is tankier than the Thresh, does have more resistances, obviously taking the Aftershock as well, so being able to proc that. So good return damage coming out from Pain Gaming's bot lane. If we look at the minimap, CarioK is also around as well. Maybe they can potentially find a dive, but PSG do have that ward.
Let's see what happens here. No dive going to be forthcoming just yet, but CarioK there to cover it just in case, and it looks like PSG have decided that they've pushed in enough. They'll take their back. They're up about a wave, and of course, as I say, that Doggo instantly cancels his recall and is lying in wait.
Yeah, just wanting to stay in lane, not having enough money to look for any sort of buy. I wonder what Kaiwing's going to do making his way towards mid, because you know, when you think of PSG, it's a lot more about mid-jungle support than it is enabling your laners. We need to remember Doggo is a substitute AD carry. He was on the second best team from the PCS region, which was Beyond Gaming. And for Kaiwing, it's been all about enabling these roams that, these invades that River likes to go for. Even Hanabi being part of the fold, laying down some vision for River as well.
All right, well, able getting the lane pushed in, is always good news. Picks up a gold drinker off the ground as tinowns is going to have to deal with these waves under the tower. Looks like both junglers taking some recalls, have actually gone back already and purchased a couple of components, but still just mostly clearing through the jungle and trying to track each other. But again, not a whole lot of pressure put into any of these lanes. It does just feel like this is a very comfortable place for PSG. You know, their lanes are pushing. For the most part, they're winning, although not by much, to be perfectly fair. About 100 gold up right now for PSG, which isn't particularly significant. But this is definitely a spot where they feel comfortable in. And if they get a stranglehold on this game, a foothold, if you will, things could skyrocket out of control very quickly as Robo does try and get aggressive, but a nice hammer from Hanabi will deny any follow-up.
And I find the dynamic of this top lane matchup very interesting because Hanabi on PSG is pretty much always left on an island as River hovering around bot. Maybe they can find this.
Zoom in there. Oh, good hook there again, landing in onto Luci. No flash, no ignite here, and the damage is already done. First blood on the table. Who's going to collect it? It is Kaiwing as they're going to look for even more now as the follow-up is good. CarioK getting low, but brTT firing back. No ulti yet, though, for the Kai'Sa, so hard to really get in there as River will escape.
And, you know, Pain Gaming saw that PSG were on the bottom half of the map. Oh, tinowns.
All right, this is a good roam. River maybe going to get picked off here, but tinowns, no vision over the back of this dragon. Looks easy on our screen to go over the wall, but not something tinowns wants to do, not having any additional information. So good timing there to prevent the re-wrap from River, which was ultra aggressive, but tinowns with a nice timing does read that. Players will watch this one again. The other thing about Thresh, really good at getting Udyr in as well. Yeah,
and we see here, right, they are able to see them, and it's a bit at the last second. You know, I think Luci would have gotten hooked regardless had, you know, he not clicked towards the side of PSG, but you mentioned how Thresh really good at getting his jungle involved as well. They also force out the flash from CarioK, and I'm sure the replay won't go towards it, but I actually think tinowns probably could have looked for that kill on River a bit more aggressively. Maybe try to force out a flash. Ooh, Hanabi?
I'd ignite too, so I think I agree, but Hanabi getting in there. It's hammer time on poor Robo. It is kind of, again, as you said, an interesting matchup dynamic. It feels to me it's like Jayce is greater than Gnar, but maybe Gnar is greater than Jayce. And of course, it depends how they're playing around each other there, as Dragon will be started by CarioK, actually trying to finish it off. tinowns finding River this time around, and a little low on mana, no follow-up required, but still making sure that River does not continue to invade the enemy jungle with impunity, as CarioK might have to smite early for health, indeed will have to, and that is warded. But thankfully for him, there is no one in the area to punish this.
And it seems like for the side of PSG, they're fine giving this one up for EXP and gold trade. brTT having to cleanse immediately. And so far, Doggo and Kaiwing have been doing anything they want this lane. River just getting me a bit overexcited as Robo is paying respect.
Ooh, Maple just lands the bubble, now flashing out. Follow-up is there, River flashes in, and there it is! You were right all along, Lyric. It is a kill for PSG.
In Pastry, I don't get it. Robo seems like he knows they're coming up. He's paying the respect. He's moving back. Instead, walking up to check the Krugs. They know Maple's not in the mid lane, so he's definitely hovering towards that top side of the map because you look at bottom river, they know he's not there. And in the end, just a mistake from Robo.
It's that Zoe privilege, man. You just randomly throw bubbles and sometimes you get kills. And Maple, right place, right time. Good aim as well on that one. Is Luci going to be forced to flash? Kaiwing just don't miss on this hook. And you said it already, definitely a player very comfortable on Thresh, and I'm starting to see why.
You know, Pastry, my career started coaching in the LMS. In 2016, this young player named Kaiwing joins a team called MSI. Pretty much a Thresh run, one trick, absolutely dumpstering everyone. People at the time comparing him to Sword Art. And, you know, over the years, he hasn't lost a step.
Yeah, looking good, although we've now got a new curse. It's not the cast curse, it's the coach curse, because he missed a hook on screen as we were talking about him. So Kai will have to recalibrate slightly, but feeling real good in the 2v2 so far. Top side again, it is just Maple with the bubbles. Oh, actually, it's Lillia with the sleep. How confusing, as that's a great gank from Pain Gaming. And now River actually going to be followed up on. Robo doesn't have the ulti, but just barely missing that boulder means River will get away, but tinowns going to try and make them pay. Over the wall we go. Does have the ulti still as well, and the LeBlanc can not going to chase between the new towers. Kaiwing is actually up here now, so tinowns, I think, correctly not going too aggressive. But PNG, with that kill, are going to start the Rift Herald.
And so far, we've seen the dynamic of this game where, again, it just looks like PSG have, I'd say, maybe better like individual players, but Pain Gaming still know how to string things together and make some of these team-oriented plays. They got the first Dragon, they're going to get the first Rift Herald as well, so still staying very relevant in this game. And even though we mentioned the dynamic of how Pain Gaming's champions are going to be running into PSG, which should feel okay for PSG as long as, you know, they aren't able to exactly close that distance or 100-0 someone with the LeBlanc. But tinowns will still put down a ton of threat in these skirmishes.
All right, well, again, it is Hanabi falling asleep this time, not Maple finding a bubble. So I'll see, though, just as good here with the ulti.
And we see, I'm trying to empathize with what Hanabi was going for. I guess River is here. Maple also here first, but just the amount of burst coming out from the side of Pain Gaming was enough to burst him down. Sadly, tinowns not able to get another one, but at least they were able to get flash from Maple.
All right, well, good counterpunch there for Pain as they do pick up their first kill of this game. Only 1,000 gold behind and do have that first Dragon that CarioK picked up pretty early, so not feeling too bad, all things considered. CS feeling pretty even actually across the board. Again, is PSG up by a little but not a lot. So I think given the circumstances, Pain can actually be pretty happy with the early game. Like you said, they haven't been able to dominate their lanes like they have maybe back home, but certainly have been very good together. It's, you know, they might not be as good as they are against the other teams in their league, but they're certainly not going to, you know, fall over here, even against the likes of PSG, who have had some very good early games.
Yeah, and again, I think Pain Gaming at least recognize some of the strengths their comp has, because they're controlling the bottom side river, and one thing that's great about their composition, right, is no one can really walk in and face check into a LeBlanc Lillia combo with Luci hovering around waiting in the wings as well, because we will see a repeat of what happened topside where Hanabi just got instantly deleted.
You gotta be careful. The Robo's gonna be clearing out that vision, opening up space here for CarioK to come up again, and oh, look at that, Lillia's back with the ulti ready. And the Rift Herald, so it could be some extra credit here with the turret plates going down, but the kill, of course, is the first thing they want. Robo lining up the Mega Gnar into the wall. You go, Swall Seed out, lands beautifully, and Hanabi, why did you flash as Robo's gonna take that kill?
I agree, that flash didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Nice play coming out from Pain Gaming. Gonna get some plates onto this Gnar and Lillia as well. So these are some of the strong team fighting aspects of their comp, right? We know Robo's gonna lead the charge. We know that CarioK is gonna look for that massive sleep. And now they also have a point of pressure to play around on the map. If Robo can keep up this pressure, he can start hovering around mid. They can get deep wards in their top side jungle. Robo might be overextended though, Pastrytime.
Yeah, Maple over there. Blue buff ready to go. Really want this other touch to come in. Now River's here and says, I'm going to chilling smite you. Maple's going to come over the wall and beat you down. And oh, he transforms in time to live for a little bit extra time. Although maybe lives long enough, yep, to get killed by Hanabi, who's happy to get some gold back.
And I'm just very confused. Luci.
That was a very nice play. Yeah, that connected, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely
Nice.
connected, Pastry.
Very nice.
You are on top of your game as Maple just hitting some paddle stars, but
Oh, what a chain. That was gross from tinowns. Nice angle there. Falls asleep though, Maple with the punish. Oh, just barely short on the paddle side. This is not really Zoe.
And, you know, I like that you mentioned tinowns because he's a player we haven't really gotten to talk about much. tinowns obviously hasn't been seen on the international stage for a very long time, since those Kaboom days, but he's been a player that's garnered a lot of respect in the Brazilian scene, even when his team wasn't always the best, even when, you know, a few years ago he actually did get relegated with his team and had to play back up from the Brazilian Challenger Series. Always been one of the top 3 mids in the region. We've seen he's a very stable player, and I'd say probably the best performing player from Pain Gaming at MSI so far.
Yeah, been looking good here. Holding his own, certainly up against Maple, who has, to be fair, been leaving lane a ton, but tinowns also has found some roam timings as well, so it is more about that back and forth and the side lane pressure than, you know, beating up your opponent in the 1v1, even though they're both brought Ignite to the party. Hasn't really been about that. Eclipse is finished for Hanabi now, who I think is just going to have to play a little bit more carefully. And you mentioned this already, actually, earlier in this game, where even though they're picking Jayce, PSG often just leave Hanabi on his own, which typically is not something you want to do with Jayce, because even if it's normally isolated, everyone always ganks the Jayce, as Robo is going to eat the wrong end of a Jayce trade.
Jayce is a very interesting pick to me because we see it played very differently and talked about very differently in the LPL as compared to, I think, the Western regions, to where Jayce isn't necessarily all about having to dominate lane, get those plates, be a side lane bully. And I don't think he falls off as hard as people think. You're going to throw an accelerated shock blast in the late game, and any squishy target is going to lose half their HP. So I feel like Hanabi can always find a way to be relevant.
I agree, and I think, you know, much like Zoe Ezreal of the past, there's that kind of poke built in as well. I just feel like everyone always picks Jayce and leaves it alone, and then always gets ganked and feels surprised, as that's a great hook again for Kaiwing onto CarioK, roaming into the enemy jungle a little too far. Going golden, though, it's going to be a 3v3 kicking off. The double sleep is nice, and there's the follow-up as Pain. Maybe have found a way to turn this around as Luci gets out of dodge over the wall with the blast cone, and Pain Gaming actually almost going to get away with it there. Keep everyone alive as they roam into the enemy jungle.
Yeah, Pain Gaming having to burn some summoners. Doggo, I thought, would be able to find the Moonlight Vigil onto CarioK, and maybe they could have tried to burst him out right away, but really nice reactive flash coming out from him. But PSG, at the end of the day, are the ones who win out in that skirmish. Nothing really available on the map, though. We expect them to start maybe taking vision control around the bottom half of the map soon. Dragon still only 2 minutes and 40 seconds away. But we've seen that PSG haven't really been playing for Hanabi. They've never been known for playing for Hanabi, so it's still going to be about this mid-jungle into bot-side transition for the side of PSG.
Yeah, it does feel like a much slower PSG game, though. They've been pretty fast and furious as far as early games have gone, but Pain definitely holding their own, feeling pretty comfy, I imagine, in the mid to late game here with the comp they have. Although, as you mentioned, there is certainly plenty of play here, especially in some sort of siege or objective situation where you have the vision advantage. PSG can certainly poke out plenty of squishies. Lillia, LeBlanc, and Kai'Sa all don't want to face check, and Mini doesn't either want to face check into poke. So things will line up pretty interestingly as we move through this game, but the first Rift Herald did go to Pain. That actually got them the first tower that's giving Robo the lead he currently has, and it's going to be the second Rift Herald here for Pain as well.
And then I think it'll be a really massive deal if they find a way to where they can, you know, use that side pressure, which we see they have top, converge on mid and break down that mid lane turret, right? Because if we give tinowns free reign, if Maple has to play far back under his tier 2, that opens up a lot of the picks where Pain Gaming's comp thrives to push an advantage forward.
Yeah, taking mid really cleanly here. This is great from Pain. Opening up the map, giving himself all this space. Also makes like PSG's poke worse, right? Because you have less room to play with. If you're getting pushed in, it's way harder to push the enemy in and then poke them down because you have to take minions out from under your tower. Thankfully, Doggo is going to save the day in bottom lane and at least get some gold and a tower back in the favor of PSG. We're actually still up a couple hundred gold, but the Drake advantage, the general map state, I think in the situation that Pain have found themselves in, they'll be feeling really good about how this kind of early and mid game has gone.
Yeah, Pain are in a really solid spot, and I think especially the fact that they were able to open up top lane early on, because we keep seeing Robo do this, right? Push in top, hover into the top side jungle around mid, clear out vision. It's going to put pressure on Maple as well, not knowing exactly where Robo is. And now that they have unlocked this mid lane turret, they've opened up more quadrants to get vision and deny vision from the side of PSG. And you're always going to have to wonder, hey, is a Swirl Seed from CarioK going to come out? Or is tinowns just going to pop over the wall with Distortion and get one of our carries to half HP? And then we can't even get in a position to layer down our poke.
Yeah, vision work already being done though. Luci was around the dragon area, 22 seconds until the dragon is spawning. So this could be the kind of the first major tipping point of this game as the 5v5 seems likely to erupt given the positioning of both these teams. But again, with PSG having the first push onto mid, having a bit more priority, having vision down already, much harder for Pain to walk into this area. In fact, PSG aren't even going for the dragon right now. They're actually going to shut down mid first.
And this is what their comp is built for, right? They feel great being just in front of structures, trying to zone off the enemy team. We saw that Pain were trying to get a cheeky start on this Drake. I like that tinowns is playing off to the flank. I feel like we really have to pay attention to Kaiwing and how he does zone off this threat.
Ooh, such good vision, good play there by tinowns, actually dodging almost everyone. I think Hanabi, yep, finally spotted him, but the dragon goes in, and that is Lillia picking it up, so 3 Drakes now for PNG. Are they going to go in? Robo going to find 2. Wallop is not going to get the rest of them, though. The Nautilus ulti does move through, but there's no follow-up there. Luci already sent to Doggo as PSG are going to turn things back around, make it 2 as Hanabi gets the kill, and there's the 3rd as Maple collects 1. And all of a sudden, despite getting the dragon, it's the team fight win for PSG.
You were saying it yourself, Pastry. I'm so flustered because Pain Gaming had a pretty solid position, right? We saw tinowns doing a nice job of playing around that vision. Pain were the ones who started the Drake and were able to take it. And, you know, I can't wait to get a replay because I'm pretty sure Pain Gaming were also the ones to start off that fight with a hook coming out from Luci.
Yeah, we'll have to watch it again if we do indeed get it, which I'm sure it will be coming up in just a moment or two. Hey, there it is.
And we see, again, tinowns playing around vision well. River goes in trying to get the steal. Luci does go for the hook, but already chunked out, actually, from what seems to be Maple Zoe. And now Pain just in a really awkward position. Robo off to the side, already using ult, not really being able to find out anyone. And tinowns not able to find the flank. It feels like that's really the bread and butter of Pain Gaming's composition. We talked about them. It's like burst or bust for them. They weren't able to burst, so it was bust.
Certainly was, and that's great news for PSG out there in the new Axe Effect replay as they've kind of retaken the lead that they had. Again, it was only 100 gold before, maybe a couple hundred. Now it's, you know, a few thousand, despite the Drake deficit that PSG do find themselves in. And it's funny, I guess I'm glad I didn't say it because it would have felt like I was cursing Pain. But I was going to credit them for how stable this game had been, right? The thing they've really been struggling with is falling behind in the early game, and they've had some heroics to almost win games in the later stages. They've shown really good prowess around the map, but this is the kind of thing that, you know, it starts to get a little bit sloppy as Robo's going to find himself caught in a 1v3 in the side lane. Kaiwing is going to lock him up forever, and Hanabi is going to get revenge and take kill number 3.
Yeah,
He's getting it. Don't worry about it. Oh no, is he not getting it? No way. Yeah. Ooh, good flash. Very nice flash from Robo. Now,
does he hit the skill shot?
The shock blast. Does he have the mana? No. Hanabi maybe running low. The shock blast isn't going to find it. Robo! I tell a lie. He escapes with ease.
And I love how you come off saying, yeah, I didn't want to curse Pain Gaming and go straight into cursing PSG with saying that was a guaranteed kill. Still, though, they were able to get a flash out of it. They didn't expend anything. Speaking of flashes, I feel like it's really important to note that flashes are down on both sides for almost everyone, excluding the supports and CarioK. Those are going to be really important going into the next team fight. I think especially for the side of PSG, where we said, hey, they do have a lot of immobile carries. There is a LeBlanc on the other side. Maybe Robo can find a big ultimate. So they will have some windows to play around.
Oh, I thought Maple was going to, like, just completely clap tinowns with the bubble through the wall there, but I don't think it had quite enough vision. Gonna have to, like, use the force there to try and seek out LeBlanc, but tinowns instead will go back to safety, sitting on their control wards as Baron is at least a consideration for some vision here. We've seen actually quite a number of fast Baron takes, and also just, you know, fast Baron pressure, right, wanting to draw the enemy team over to that area, and of course PSG going to start compounding on that as they clear out the vision that PNG are maybe trying to place in the pit. In fact, River's even clearing out the control in the tri-bush there as well. So Robo going to have some free time. No Jayce here this time. So after escaping, goes back down to take out the tower.
I'm kind of surprised PSG wouldn't start Baron here. And, you know, not actually try to take Baron, but, right, bait out that TP from Robo, try to relieve some pressure from the bottom half of the map. But instead, just using it as a window to clear out vision. And it's kind of interesting because now you wonder, are Pain Gaming going to try to retake vision top when the next real objective is going to be that Drake in 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Yeah, I think a potentially worthwhile trade if it comes to it for Pain, taking the Dragon Soul for a Baron. I think you can probably get through it, although it is going to be tough with Jayce and Zoe sieging with a Baron buff, so I don't think Pain wanted to give it away easily, but definitely a consideration as far as trades go, and certainly there's going to be constant pressure for this Soul here for PSG for a while in this game, so we'll see if PNG can continue to stack those Drakes up. They've done it very rapidly so far in this game. In 50 seconds time, we'll find out. Also, as a reminder, neither of these mid laners have teleport. It's actually one of the things that might hurt tinowns for the map play as this game goes later. You know, LeBlanc wants to be in a side lane typically when the map is more open because she's not just a threat on her own, but she's pretty good at catching waves and applying a bit of side lane pressure, but can't TP to the Drake fight that Pain will want him there for. So tinowns going to have to be very vigilant about leaving the lane at the appropriate time, and Pain don't care about that because they're just shoving down mid.
I was going to say, I like how we're already seeing that dynamic, right? Pain are playing around the side lane. PSG realized, hey, we're a lot stronger grouped up, so they just forced through mid. And we did actually see Pain Gaming deny and retake vision topside, but still that dragon is what's up in 10 seconds. I'm wondering if Pain are just going to concede. They do still have time to roam. tinowns doesn't really have any mana, though, so I think this should just be a free dragon for the side of PSG.
Yeah, gonna go for the Baron instead, though. So remember, you know, they could have maybe considered this trade, but the reverse of this trade is great for them, right? The first dragon for PSG versus the first Baron for Pain is much more impactful there for Pain. So in fact, PSG will pull off here, and they're gonna maybe look to finish this here. No vision just yet. Gonna have to get a little bit more information as Maple tries to throw the bubbles in. But Luci now on the front side can get locked up for a little longer, but over the top, Hanabi is gonna be the target. brTT is looking to make the play, but I think he's going a touch too far as Kaiwing is gonna find that play. tinowns now over the top is just getting crushed as the rest of PSG are trying to find the kill, and Doggo with the Infernum is gonna find two as he slays the duo lane, and tinowns just barely gets away as Maple is gonna make the Gnar not so lucky as PSG Talon take 3 kills.
It's a tragedy, Pastry. You can see what Pain Gaming were going for. They thought they had the burst. They thought they had the damage. tinowns jumps over the wall, finds a chain onto Hanabi, sets up for brTT to jump in, but they just didn't have the damage to take him down. Then it's so easy for PSG to turn and find the kills. And this game just went from like, hey, it's pretty even, it's close, Pain Gaming can threaten Soul, to, well, now we have a 4K gold lead for the side of PSG and a Siege composition that has Baron.
Yeah, this Rebel Baron power play is going to be rough, especially because Pain are going to lose the threat of the Soul very quickly. They're actually going to be back down the area to contest, but going to have to make it swift. tinowns maybe going to be the hero here as CarioK probably can't get in the area, have to dodge the hooks. It's tinowns, and he's going to have to make it happen. Doesn't grab it. It is Thresh that gets the dragon, but it is PSG Talon that collect it. tinowns does take down River, but that's going to be maybe all they get as the sleep does happen, but tinowns going to have to get so deep to try and find a follow-up kill. And no kills will be forthcoming there for Pain.
It just blows my mind that between the burst of a LeBlanc or, you know, like smites or any other damage, that Kaiwing is the one who secures the Drake for the side of PSG. I think that was really a godsend for them because this composition with Soul would be a mess. But in this replay, it's like we talked about. tinowns finds the chain. Instantly, brTT follows up, doesn't have the damage. Hanabi actually chunking him down, and Kaiwing also there to zone. Luci got chunked on the opposite end of the fight. And then Doggo with the Moonlight Vigil instantly bursting out numerous members. Kaiwing able to continue to follow up with hooks.
Doggo now going to get Nautilus ultied up. Pain Gaming looking for the pick, but do they have the follow-up? brTT going to get his W blocked as Kaiwing now going to look to re-engage alongside River. It's Luci tied up there in the front side, and that's going to be a kill for Doggo, who just keeps stacking him up as tinowns now going to get shut up by River. LeBlanc, so tricky to kill, but I think they have the lockdown. Not quite enough as the blast cone is going to help tinowns get out safely. That's a Mimic tank in the tower. Everyone's A-okay. And Kaiwing, he is still chasing here, trying to get this kill. As Hanabi also looking to pick up Robo, but doesn't find it. But Kaiwing still in hot pursuit, looking to try and take tinowns down, but again, there are so many walls LeBlanc can dash over, and I think River, I think he's done. Oh, he spotted him, but knows he's in the brush. River going to maybe try and buy it a little bit more time. Look at the dead man's plate go! As River now going to get chained up. This feels so bad for Udyr. There's just too many chains as the W is going to find tinowns back. Again, no TP. Has to get out in a recall. River, he knows, right? He has to know. He's going to go back in for it. Now the chain's going to miss as Kaiwing and River are still trying to chase down this LeBlanc. I don't know if it's the play you need to be making, but it is certainly the fun one as tinowns, yeah, going to go back, but there's someone waiting for you. This time it's Kaiwing. They are finally going to get the prey they were looking to catch as Kaiwing gets yet another kill.
I'm just surprised that tinowns was able to distract them for about 35 or 40 seconds
of their... a lot of Baron.
Exactly. Like 40 seconds of your Baron buff wasted chasing around this LeBlanc. We're going to see how this pick started. Pain Gaming are the ones in PSG's jungle, hoping someone does walk in. Doggo was taking the red buff, so I think it was a pretty understandable play. They go on him, does have the stopwatch though, so not able to follow up. Kaiwing is here to zone. River also running in. Luci in a really bad spot, doesn't even have flash, so pretty much guaranteed dead at this point. tinowns still waiting in the wings, maybe hoping his cooldowns come back up and he could potentially try to get a big amount of burst damage onto someone. Isn't able to do that. In Pastry, we have a ton of key items. 3-item Aphelios on the side of PSG, gonna be the main carry, hitting like a truck, but also the fact that Muramana is built on Hanabi is one of Jayce's biggest power spikes, with all that bonus damage coming from your mana pool. So I feel like PSG right now have a ton of tools to work with. When we look at the side of Pain Gaming, you need to hope someone on a PSG makes a no-no.
I agree, as the Horizon focus there for Maple, getting a bit of extra damage out of just the Paddle Star poke. This is kind of like classic Nidalee, if anyone out there remembers the very before times of League of Legends. But Maple, you know, going to try and do what poke they can. Still got some pressure here in these side lanes, despite Baron wearing off already, thanks in part to tinowns' heroics, giving them the run around there in top lane. But Tier 2 is going to fall in bottom side. Doggo is a DPS machine for anything in front of him, including structures. And PSG Talon looking to really put the finishing touches on a game that really has been very close and still has more than enough ways for Pain to come back in it, especially if they can nab that soul that's coming up in a minute 15.
I would say the good thing for Pain, right, is like you highlighted, they are on soul point. The fact that they do have some very clutch, massive AoE teamfight ultimates, right? Because all it takes is one massive Mega Gnar ult coming out from Robo, hitting numerous members if he locks down Maple and Doggo.
This is really nice for tinowns. Oh, he gets put to sleep though, but can't find the follow-up, and now the turnaround is going to happen. But brTT goes in. tinowns looking too eager for that kill, and the Ignite is going to give Maple the rampage.
And it seems like Pain Gaming at this point are just kind of grasping for straws. They are aware that they are behind. Again, it is 12-3, so they're just trying to find the picks that they can. But I agree with you, a bit over-ambitious on tinowns' part. He did try to have brTT follow up as well, but Maple did have Flash, as well as having the CC from his Everfrost, even if tinowns did keep going.
All right, well, looks like PSG know that step one is to ensure that no Drakes get into the hands of Pain from this point onwards. And so far, so good on that plan. CarioK is going to have a tough time getting in, although it does have Flash. But you're going to have to make your way all around the wall, probably, and then get some vision and flash in. And PSG is going to have the Dragon done and the vision up before that really comes to a head. So even though it is going to be 5v5 for this Dragon, tinowns walk back. But again, the bubbles, the poke, the lack of vision, I think this is too challenging here for Pain to get in, and indeed it is.
And especially with the fact that Robo's Mega Gnar was about to time out anyway, so again, you're really hoping for either him or CarioK to find a miracle play. We've been talking a lot about tinowns, but it feels like tinowns relies on either a greedy map setup by PSG where someone's isolated for LeBlanc to find a pick, or someone walking into the enemy jungle overextended. So I feel like it's not really in tinowns' hands if he finds a kill against PSG. It's all about if Robo or CarioK can find the miracle play.
And Hanabi showing off some of that poke there. LeBlanc hates getting poked out, and tinowns gonna feel the pain there as the accelerated shock blast does come in. Baron just getting like straight up done here. Like Doggo and River can do this easily on their own, but gonna force PNG in as Luci is gonna get hooked up by Kaiwing. Now the sleep is gonna come for the counter engage, but the choke point looks a little bit tricky. Another good hook there is gonna land in. Robo can't transform in time. It's Maple going unstoppable. brTT gets collapsed by Hanabi as PSG Talon are gonna pick up 2.
And I wonder how that fight started, if Kaiwing was the one who got the hook or if Luci found the engage, because Kaiwing instantly had to flash out. But once again, brTT using the killer instinct. Hanabi
far forward, gonna be okay. Again, firing back more than enough. Maple, he's in there, he gets the kill. Now gonna move forward, looks for the flash. Everfrost, the man, will not be stopped. It's Maple, baby, grabbing the double kill at the end of it.
Maple back on the international stage. It's what we love to see. And it looks like PSG are just gonna be able to close out this game.
Yeah, don't even need the second Baron here. It's gonna be the straight down mid here. Just one defender. It is one level 10 Nautilus here. He's just going to get himself killed. Nothing Luci can do. That's going to be the ace for PSG. And it's going to be win at number 3 as they'll now tie Mad Lions in this group.
Pastrytime, Maple is a 6-time LMS champion for a reason. He's been to Worlds 5 times, MSI 3 times. He's an IEM champion. And really good performance from him. I think when I look at the side of PSG, it's all about him and Kaiwing really popping off this game, setting up a carry like Doggo on the Aphelios.
Yeah, it was not the game I think we expected. A very measured game from PSG Talon, honestly. Like, never really felt like they needed to rush things. Even with Pain, building up kind of a lead and playing very solid throughout that game. PSG just played very calm, kind of did, the due diligence with their picks, didn't panic about the solo lanes or anything that was happening with the early top tower falling down. And yeah, take a bow. PSG are looking good here. And it's nice to see shift in styles, even though maybe it's not as exciting for us. I think it's nice that PSG can show that, yes, we can play like kind of fast and loose and very aggressive, but we have, your normal macro, calm, measured, disciplined play that you would expect from a team with so much experience on the international stage.
I also like how PSG keep it consistent. Again, they're going to leave Hanabi on his island, but he's going to be fine to do what he needs on the top side. It's going to be all about that 3-man jungle, mid, and support core, kind of turning the gears of the game forward.
All right, well, PSG will return to the stage in game number 3 and are now just 1 win away from a spot in the Rumble stage.
coming, baby. You look mighty fine, I figured I might come your way and roll up on you with that golden ticket. Shawty, can I get your digits, maybe we can kick it. Hey, 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 hey. Just wait till all my time is up. Just wait till all my
Smell irresistible. The new Axe Effect.
Welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk. PSG just secured their third win at MSI 2021, taking a big step towards a spot in the Rumble stage. Now, it was not completely clear-cut Peng Gaming. They got to Soul Point. They got Robo very far ahead in the top lane. Bwipo, what were your general takeaways from the match?
Honestly, it looked like a pretty close game up until the composition got outscaled a little bit. The LeBlanc, unfortunately, wasn't able to find any picks thanks to the MR bot from the top side of PSG. So ultimately, I felt like once the game stopped, slowed down to a
For
point
sure.
where PSG got the dragons, it was all she wrote.
Yeah.
Pain.
The composition, of course, came into a big effect there. Now, every second counts, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, River was able to full clear the enemy topside jungle from Pain and get a big kill in the top lane. I think the huge takeaway here is that with vision of the enemy jungler Lillia going towards the Infernal on the bot side and every jungle camp open, River was able to make a big capitalization off that play.
Honestly, it was a great play by him. The only unfortunate part about the play really is the fact that Hanabi was giving back some of the kills later, but as you can see here, as soon as Robo turns the corner, doesn't flash the Sleepy Trouble bubble and gets caught underneath his turret and, well, practically one-shot.
Yeah, for sure. And it comes down to like the age-old question, like, is it more valuable to like focus on the objectives as a jungler or just continue full clearing through? And I think that there is something to be said about when all of your camps are respawning on the opposite side of the map, if you invest the time into the jungle, that is definitely going to come at a cost. And you saw that River, even though that play was just a small part of the match, ended up going 0, 1, and 13. Probably the perfect Udyr you could ask for, not taking any kills from his laners.
I think he had a great performance on the Udyr, and to come back to your point about trading objectives for camps, what's really important is when you do decide to trade objectives, I think it is very important that the team that got the initial objective and fell behind doesn't manage to get all the other dragons. Because in this case, Pain Gaming did manage to stack 3 dragons when the advantage from the top side that River was able to get, thanks to the gank and the camps, should have translated in some form of pressure to get some dragons back. Didn't quite happen, so the game was a lot closer than it maybe should have been, but we'll have to see if PSG can clean that up.
Yeah, you need to make sure that if you're getting the EXP and gold advantage when your opponent goes to the objectives, well, you need to then be able to translate that into a little bit more. Thank you, Bwipo. Glad to have a jungle expert help me break that down. Now, Group B has been blown wide open after the Wildcats went over the Mad Lions earlier today, so let's see what happens as we turn our eyes to Game 3.
Is thrown down from Doggo. He continues to fire out, and the fate is unsealed. Seren is in the game.
Certainly true with Pain is that I don't know what's happening behind them scrims, but they are definitely growing into a beast.
I have nothing but respect for Pain, and they just go to show that they can still tangle with the best.